Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks so much for joining us today. Uh, Hi, Mika. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us.
No, thank you for
How
having me here.
are you doing today? All good?
I'm doing well. Still morning coffee. It's so you said for me it's still good morning, 10 a.m.
Well, for me, 6 p.m. So this is actually something super cool we did on another webinars. Like everyone started posting what time were they on, what time zone were they on from. People's like 2 a.m., like 8 a.m.
2 a.m.
Like it's super cool. Yeah. So
It's,
if people want to do this, feel free to say where are you, what time zone. I think that's a super cool way to get the chat going.
I'm in
Um,
I'm in beautiful San Francisco. We have like a beautiful morning. It's kind of like feels very sunny and very warm day here today.
Awesome. I'm in warm Lisbon too, sunset. Awesome. So let's get into it. So we're a webinar series about AI adoption, and we invite super cool companies to tell us a bit about their story, about what they're dealing with, and so on. And I've prepared an agenda for us to talk about today,
hmm
and we'll divide it in kind of introduction and at the start Q&A at the end, kind of the usuals, and then in the middle, the meat of it, we'll talk about Amplemarket's journey, not only in terms of product AI adoption, but also as a company. Um, Obviously, because we're two sales guys, we can talk about go-to-market strategies
Let's go.
and future of AI in B2B marketing. And yeah, then we'll wrap up. Obviously, feel free to ask questions while we go through it. And and yeah, we'll be spending 50 minutes, 1 hour just to like debating some of these best practices that we're seeing in the industry. So I'd love to start by getting to know you better. I would love to hear your story. What's your story?
So I was born no, but no. My story, my background. Actually, like today, I'm a founder of Amplemarket, right? So like, and I'm a founder in CRO. So I mainly lead and work together very tightly with our revenue teams. So anything that touches like growth, marketing, sales, customer success, and finance. But before that, my background was actually physics. I was doing a PhD in physics before I dropped out, and I was doing a lot of like big data back in the day, and like we called it machine learning and big data, not really AI because it was really data analysis and big data problems, not really the AI as we experience it today, or like that we started experiencing like 4 years ago. But yeah, so I was back in 2014, I decided to do startups with my two co-founders. We did a few startups before Amplemarket. Like Amplemarket, we launched in 2020. Today we describe Amplemarket as like an AI sales platform. I think we will drop the AI in 2 years because everything will be AI. So like it's like going to be like, you don't need to say that it's AI. Of course it's AI. What did you expect? So it's a sales platform that powers agentic sales flows, as well as like assisted sales motions. Today we work with like around like 850 companies worldwide. And we power their sales teams. We believe really that sales, to your point, like we're sales guys, but like sales is so important. Like my background being in engineering and more of an introvert, like it was very weird to go into sales when we started launching Amplemarket, like really in 2020. It was like so strange talking with people about like, hey, here's something that I built that you should be buying. But then you kind of like understand it, like so much about what we do is sales, like, right? So we talk with investors, we talk with like candidates. I have two daughters, so I talk with my daughters. I'm actually trying to sell them on my vision to follow my instructions. So much about what we do is kind of sales. And I believe that sales teams, they're kind of like not empowered to be their best selves, especially not today. And we will attest to this, like in terms of like AI and go to market. But yeah, we want to really catalyze growth, right? So our job at Amplemarket is to really help sales teams perform at their best. Because if you think about it, like if a sales team is actually performing at their best, it means that the company is getting more customers, right? It means that the company is actually getting more cash flows. It means that they can actually invest more in R&D. You're bringing about prosperity. And so like one exercise that I think I would invite a lot of people to do is that go into the S&P 500, filter down by B2B SaaS companies, take a look at like the spend in marketing and sales, and take a look at the GDP growth that actually comes from those companies, and you'll see that like there's a correlation between like investing in sales and kind of like GDP growth. And as you know, like GDP per capita is kind of like a way that we measure prosperity. And so like sales is about bringing prosperity for everybody in the economy, which is like not going
I
so
love
well.
it. I we did an internal training the other day, and there was a sentence I put on a slide that was, the more senior you get, like the more your job is sales. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen that. And it's quite true, right? Everything, hiring, fundraising, and
yeah.
so on, everything kind of leads back to the sales. But I have one more question, a bit more personal. You went from physicist at a top tier university to sales bro.
Yeah.
How does your family think about that now?
Oh, that's a good question. My mom was not super happy. My mom, like, I remember, like, when I said, like, "Oh, look, I'm dropping all of these like research thing and I'm going to the startup." She's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, don't do that." But it was a fun journey. It was not easy. I wrote, like, and I consider myself to be more of an introvert than an extrovert. And people often think that like salespeople need to be extroverted. Actually, that's not true. Like, I would say within my sales team, I have like 14 people in the sales team. I'd say most of them are actually introverted versus extroverted. So it's not an easy thing, but it was really not an easy motion to actually get in front of people and kind of like sell what I built. But as you're saying, like if you don't do it, like you're building something. But if you don't find a way to distribute that something that you built, like you'll never have a business. So like it was more about like, okay, I want to build startups, I want to create solutions to problems, and then I want to find distribution for these. And so I needed to just like set up, start reaching out to people, getting into conversations, which was I have very fond memories from those. Like it was 2020. 2020 was COVID. So like all
Yeah.
of my breaking the ice was all about talking about COVID, and people were really truly afraid at the time. Um, but yeah, I don't consider myself a sales bro, although like but yeah, in this I don't know what people associate with sales bro, but I have a real admiration for sales teams and for companies that actually have like um good sales teams. I truly think that, especially in Europe, mainly I live in the US, right? So but I'm from Europe, but in Europe the perception of sales teams is a bit hmm, how should I put this? Like they don't have a good perception of sales versus the US. In the US, especially here, like the perception of like oh, you're in sales, it's a good career. In Europe, like you're in sales, like you're a sales bro, whatever, like you're a snake oil salesman or whatever. Like there's like this perception a little bit, like in my brain that was kind of ingrained, growing up in Europe and being like an engineer by training. But here in the US, kind of like being in sales is a very respectable path and a very respectable career, which is very different than you find in Europe. So the transition was hard because I'm more of an introvert, but like I really understood that if I don't do that transition, like you don't find distribution, and then like whatever, like you can build whatever you want. If you never distribute your product, like you're never going to be going beyond product market fit, right? And yeah, that's my
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with the introvert part. I also am an introvert myself, and I think like introverts are also good listeners, which is a very important part of the job. I wanted to get into the meat
But
of it,
wait.
and
Why do you consider yourself a quick question? Like, why do you consider yourself an introvert?
I consider myself an introvert because um so I do you know like there's a few things like that can tell that. For example, like if you have a dinner and but you have like an hour in between and you go home and then or go straight to the restaurant, those are very introvert extrovert behaviors. I'll probably go home and then go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's that type of behavior.
But it's so interesting because I would
Um,
never, knowing you, I would never have told that you were, because like I think it's very interesting because you're kind of like an introvert that can actually act as an extrovert in social situations. Meaning like I have that too, where like I can feel that I'm the most extroverted person in the setting when I'm actually very introverted, and that's actually draining all of my energy. And the way that I like to think about it, like imagine a busy week. At the end of the busy week, do you want to go out with your friends, party, or do you want to go home and just listen to music or read a book? I'm like, I want to go home.
Yeah, exactly. But it's knowing where to play each role. I think it's when it becomes a superpower.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's not easy. Yeah, and sales
Yeah,
there's that to sales. Like becoming a sales bro is kind of like understanding that thing. Like especially in person events, right? We've started doing more conferences, etc. And just like there, you really need to go and like start as many conversations as
yeah,
possible. And it's like I needed to train myself to do that.
agree. Awesome. Let's talk about Amplemarket's AI journey. I would love to know more. Kind of first, how yeah, let's start with how AI is shaping your product. Like since 2020, I guess, like when that came into like ChatGPT and other models started to come out, like how did it impact you? How has AI kind of completely changed your company over the last few years?
Yeah, so like we raised our series, our seed round in 2020, and I would love to have like that deck to show you, but in that deck we had this thing where we believe that in the future there'll be a company that combines data, engagement, and intelligence to build like the future of AI sales assistants. And at the time, like we called it machine learning, natural language processing, feature extraction, sentiment analysis. But ever since the very beginning of Amplemarket, we always had machine learning models built by ourselves, very different, right? Very, very specific to like specific problems that we wanted to solve. But we've always had like our natural language processing models running in production since we launched. That was kind of like one of our differentiating factors when we first went to market. Again, we're a sales platform that is actually already using machine learning to help you, at least on the data side, understand what's working, what's not, helping coach your reps towards like the best next steps, but nothing like it is possible today, right? But again, our from our very inception, we believe that like in the future, like AI would actually make all of these like really interesting like workflows possible, and we believed, our core belief was that that was only possible on top of like a consolidated all-in-one sales platform. It's like I live in San Francisco. I don't know if like people listening have been here or like they have like experienced the self-driving cars, but it's right. So I use Waymos all of the time. Now we have like on the streets we have Zooks, which is kind of like a very strange car. There's no steering wheel. You're just like everybody sitting inside that car is actually facing each other. It's kind of like it's really a peek into the future of like self-driving and the AI really in that realm. And the reason why I'm mentioning these is kind of like, to build these things, you need to build the car from the ground up, like the cameras, the lidars, the radars, all of these things are fully integrated, like into an all-in-one car, if you know what I mean. Then like the AI system, you switch it on and you make it better over time, and you have these over-the-air updates. And at Amplemarket, we always believe that. Now, in 2022, when like really ChatGPT starts becoming all of the rage, and 3.4, 3.5 and 4.0 like come out and really change the game a lot. Like we just started like embedding a bunch of like these models into the product, and we really think about applying AI in a way that is almost doesn't require a lot of user input. So our take is to empower the sales rep via a platform that is using so much like intelligent stuff in the background that they never really understand there's like all of that going on. And I can tell you what that means. So it means that, like, for example, we have AI researchers, we have AI sequencers, we have AI copywriters, right? So all of these are little agents that like every 24 hours, they research all of your books of business, your CRM, publicly available data, and help you understand what's really important that is happening across like your potential accounts and your potential buyers. And so that's a model that was only possible when GPT models came out. It's like, okay, cool. Look, now we can actually do this and parse a lot of information here, give it a lot of unstructured data, and help like the AI kind of help us score and really prioritize accounts. Another one is kind of like a sequencer. Now, like you go from that signal, that person, that individual, that company, and then you with GPT, it was possible now to say, oh, this person is very active on LinkedIn. So maybe I want to do a social selling sequence only. I don't want to go into like an email step, right? So now you have like AIs being able to ingest like the signal for a person, the data about a company and a person, and then fit it into like a sequence that is truly bespoke. So it's possible today to do things that are really truly unique to a company, to an individual, and to a signal that happens. And that's like, that shaped the product very much, right? So because before that, again, I can help you like really tailor your approaches, but in the end, what you would find is kind of like, instead of like all of your emails with Amplemarket being 95% alike, they were maybe 70% alike, less than other platforms where everything was scanned. But
Yeah.
today, thanks to AI, like the adoption within the product, we make it so that our users can just do things that are truly unique. Like, for example, I use the Amplemarket for hiring, right? So my sequences for hiring are kind of like, I have like the AI create a report about that person for me. And then like, if I deem that person as interesting, there's like a connection step, inviting them for a quick chat or for a quick coffee. And all of these things, like it's so interesting because like I get all of these signals every 24 hours for people that follow Amplemarket, people that engage with content that is like interesting to me, and the AIs bring that to me, the researchers. Then the prioritizers bring that to me and kind of like say like, oh, this person is super unique, super interesting to you, and that's how like we've been adopting like GPT models and LLMs like across the board. And we use a lot of them, right? So we use a lot of them. But our idea is to not like give you a chat interface, but make it so that like all of these things are running for you.
What's your favorite model?
Personally, I like Claude a lot. Sonnet 3.7, like it's like I like it a lot.
Nice. Same. I
Have you tried?
tend
Have you
to
tried?
switch between.
Oh, sorry, like you're breaking up. I was going to ask you, have you tried apps like Bolt or Lovable at all recently?
Yeah. So actually, I've tried that. It's pretty cool. It's one of the fun things, even though I'm non-technical. And like last week, I had the first session with one of our engineers. I was like, okay, teach me how you work. So we installed Docker, we installed GitHub, like all the software. And now I'm like having a weekly chat with him just to kind of, I want to get up to speed, even though I'm non-technical. I can see what's possible, and I'm upskilling myself to do that. So I'm playing around, but it's a process, right? But it's a much faster process than before.
But it's crazy. It's crazy because to your point, you can be non-technical, but if you have like a product sense and a design sense, today with like apps like Lovable, Bolt, Cursor, Windsurf, like wow, you can you can almost like build things in. You can build like really. I've built things in less than 30 minutes for our teams, like because like we also use AI a lot internally to solve like processes or operational stuff. Even personally, I have two daughters who are like 4 years old, and I build apps for them. Like it's
Really?
yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy good.
Tell me, like you're mentioning, like internally, kind of how you're introducing these types of tools and so on. Kind of, what's your approach like on AI adoption? Okay, we talked about product level, but now as a company, how are your different teams? This is a big topic that we typically talk about. Like,
Yeah.
how are your different teams using different things? Is there a strategy in place, or is it just very experimental? Can you walk me a bit through that?
I we encourage people to use AI a lot, and again, like all of our engineers, like since GitHub Copilot came out, they were actually like, a bunch of them were using it. Some of them love it, some of them don't. But Cursor, Windsurf, we really encourage like AI adoption across the board. Like we expense ChatGPT like premium accounts for the team, or Claude, or like Grok, whatever like they want to use. But we really encourage things deeply internally, and even Bolt and Lovable, like to build like internal apps. So I can on the engineering side, like I think by now all of our engineers use some kind of like AI to help them like with their coding phase. For example, I'll give you an example like for finance operations. Like a finance team was looking at like some financial data. They wanted to like some analysis, compare year-over-year data, etc. And they wanted to visualize that. And they had trouble with it. They were actually like they wanted to do some shifts on data, like clean up data. And like in 30 minutes, like I was like, okay, what's the problem? And then with Bolt.new, I just went there and I built like an app that would allow them to actually upload CSVs and then like select the things that they wouldn't to compare, and then click a button, and would actually just help them compare the data. Uh, uh, Deeper, so like on the marketing side, like we have O1 Pro, so you can actually use it. I have this one thing, this one strategy that I want to do, like on the marketing side. How could I actually go about it? So I use it a lot to think, right? Create a report about this. I have this idea. Just get it out of my brain. Ask me qualifying questions, and it's so freaking interesting for that. Like sometimes people use it for like a one prompt, give me something. No, but we use it a lot to think. Like we have this project that we want to do, and here's like who we are and what we care about, and you should be like an expert in this matter. Like ask me questions. Like get the idea. Don't solve the problem for me, but just get the idea out of me, out of my brain. It's very very good for these types of things. I'm just like, I think you'll see one of my predictions. I think you'll see like a lot of like these internal apps like just growing exponentially like crazy, thanks to Bolt and Lovable. Because today, like even buying software to solve like a small problem, you can just build that software yourself. I had like a notes app with a lot of ideas, and all of these are kind of like became kind of like one shot prompts, like where I just put them into and I can build these things. um, and one thing that I do too, I've changed my, so for every role we have that we hire for, we have a challenge, a technical assignment. But I change mine. I made them way longer, way more harder, and I say I encourage the use of AI.
That's very cool.
And do you know what's interesting there? Like the people that are not like early adopters of AI, they will drop. They'll say, "Oh, this is too long. I'm not going to do it." And so like that tells you something straight away about them. But the people that really understand the power of AI and that are actually have used it and have used like a lot of different things and know exactly how to use it, they will solve the that challenge like pretty rapidly. So you're actually just like filtering for that. And I was telling you about like Toby, the CEO of Shopify. He came out with a memo for the company like a few days ago, where it was just like really encouraging the use of AI across the board, because like I really believe that you can really 10x your productivity, right? And I'm not even exaggerating on the 10x side. I think really like if you know how to use it, and I don't know, I'm still like just scratching the surface. I feel too. I'm just, wow, I can do this, I can do that, and sometimes like you need the muscle memory to remember. Oh no, I can just go to Bolt and solve this one, or I can just go to Cursor, or I can just go to One Pro, I can just go to Sonnet and solve this one thing. But I'm just scratching the surface. But you can really 10x like the things that you're able to do with AI. It's a fascinating world ahead. Like I'm just like, yeah.
Exciting, right? I think some companies haven't realized yet that if they don't start now, they're going to be kind of left in the dust, literally. We're seeing companies still doubt, and like while they're doubting, all their competitors are like, okay, way ahead and just kind of pushing through in more traditional industries, of course. Uh, what you said about hiring, I'm gonna copy that. That's such a good example, because what I started to see, and you probably saw this too, is like, okay, you advertise a job, and then you suddenly start seeing the responses, and like you get the same response from two different people, which you can start by, okay, this is clearly AI generated. Like I've had situations like that. And okay, like making it tougher and very in detail, it also cuts out the candidates that are not very motivated.
So you make it tougher. Like the candidates are not motivated, they will drop. The candidates that don't know how to leverage AI, they will drop. And even the ones that just use it very plainly, you will notice, right? Because
Yeah.
it's really easy to notice whether or not like you've just like plugged this into O3 or whatever O1, and like you spit it out. Like it's very easy to notice like who actually knows the tools. And someone that really knows the tools very well, they will surprise you. Right? Even with the image generation, like it was all the rage like last week or like 2 weeks ago. You'll see like some people create like some really good stuff. Some people create very basic stuff, and but AI is a tool, right? It's almost like I don't know, knowing how to use Google Docs and spreadsheets, right? So it's just a tool. It allows you to. My thing with it is kind of like we go up a level of abstraction in terms of like the the human pyramid, but like now it's all about creativity. So if you're creative and
Yeah.
if you know how to think, and you have like all of to your point, and you don't need to be super technical. These things can get these ideas out of your brain, and even on the execution side, I'm not saying for very complex things that you can do it, but like for very simple things, you can actually create some really interesting MVPs.
Yeah. Starts with prompting, and like I think a lot of people still don't know kind of the basics of it. And it's people are lazy in general. It's like, okay, do this, but it's like, okay, there's a whole structure of making it perfect, a perfect prompt to get like a 10x output, right?
It's like that's so interesting because I noticed that in myself. Sometimes you're writing a prompt and you're like, I don't even know what I'm saying here. Like it's a suboptimal, but you type enter, and the LLM is so good. They kind of like understand what you wanted to say. Then,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very cool. I always say like when I'm not happy, it's like not good enough. I'm like, I don't even give any context to me. Once again, this is
I
the
always say
laziest
thanks.
approach.
I always say thanks and good job.
That's good. That's nice of you. Um, what were like? Did you have any failures with AI adoption? Any disappointments and things? Okay, kind of didn't go according to plan. Because like there's a lot of hype, but there's also a lot of things that come and go very fast, right? Like couple months ago, DeepSeek was the hottest thing in the world,
Yeah.
and now it's kind of nobody's really touching it anymore. So things come and go fairly quickly in the industry. Did you have any kind of not failures, but more like disappointments when you tried something new?
You're catching me in such a I'm in such a high with all of these things that I'm so excited about like this that I can think about. Let me give me a second to think about. I think initially is on the engineering side, like like especially if you're working with a big code base, like if you have a massive code base, I think Cursor and Windsurf and all these things, they GitHub Copilot, they can still be much better. than they are. I think those are kind of like sometimes so underwhelming, which is interesting. I would have expected them to be much better, but like there's a bit underwhelming. And I talk with our engineers; they use it, right? They use it, but they it would be interesting for them to use it for way more. I would expect the usage or the capacities of these things to be much broader than what they are. I don't know. Maybe I can think about on the marketing side. I think it's oftentimes just like a usage, a user based thing, like because like like the cost to create information went down to zero because like now you can create a blog post or a LinkedIn post in like literally like 10 seconds, right? So that's why you see them exploding. And but I think if you're very basic prompter, like it really won't get you very far, right? They always default to kind of a mean that is not the mean that who you are. And one of the disappointments that I have, which I think is also like going to be an interesting thing in the future, is kind of I wish that AIs would know you better. Like, for example, I wish that Claude by now would know all of these things about. I kind of like one of the challenges that here I'm this person, I care about this, like right by now it should know. Like ChatGPT is kind of like a memory thing where you kind of like it's interesting because it kind of knows me, and I will send you a prompt that is actually a fun one to plug into them, which is kind of like a CIA profiler. So if they have a lot of history about you, like I'll send you a prompt, and they kind of like will profile you as like, and it will be crazy all the things that it knows about you. But at the same time, it seems to know a lot, but those things are not pervasive in my prompting yet. So like the AIs are not very personalized, and I wish they were more personalized. And I think that's going to also be a thing that wins, like in the future, because I think LLMs, to your point with DeepSeek, they're going to be commoditized. In the end, like the user kind of like doesn't so much care about which LLM they're using. That's my take. They care about specific outcomes, and those specific outcomes, the more they're tailored to you, the more they know you, yeah, the better it will be.
Yeah, totally agree. That's why we built a model agnostic platform where you can play around with both.
Yep.
Um, tell me about a bit. Let's go into like go to market strategies in 2025 and kind of how you leveraging AI internally on your marketing team. What are you doing with it?
Get marketing. Can I start with sales potentially?
Yeah, sure, of course.
They're intertwined, but we use
I guess you use your platform.
exactly. So I'm biased here, but I can give you. I'll try to give you like the non-biased approach, like in terms of like how I would leverage AI or how I would think about adopting AI if I was not using Amplemarket, right? So like and there I think there's like I would try to capture a few of the narratives that are in the market. Like if you talk about sales or if you talk with sales leaders, and there's like a few narratives that are going on. Like one is signal based, right? So you really want to capture signals to infer timing. So like then it's like personalization, all right? So you really want to take that signal and personalize. And the other one, I'd almost call proof of human. Right, it's like since everybody is kind of like using AI and automation, like how do you prove that you're human? So I would use AI to help me collect signals, relevant signals across a book of business or a set of accounts or a region of accounts. And I would actually go and try and buy a platform that would allow me to collect signals and parse those signals through an AI, right? So, and serve those to my marketing team or my sales team, right? I just want to understand what's the most important thing happening every 24 hours across a subset of accounts. So I would actually buy something that allows me to do that, like signals. Once I have the signals, I would actually use an AI to understand how to best approach these leads and these individuals, right? I'm just assuming that you have a data platform, etc. But on the GTM side, I would actually, you want to stand out you want to break through the noise. So you want to stand out when you're sending that email. So I would use an AI that allows me to go collect like maybe CRM data and publicly available data and kind of like take that and take into consideration all of my value props, all of my case studies, and help my sales team or my marketing team create the most personalized approach for that person, right? So I would collect people, an AI for collecting people, individuals for signals, and then like I would actually have an AI to help me define the best way to engage with these people. And then on the proof of human side, I would have an AI that would allow me to kind of like stand out even more, meaning like approach people in channels or in ways that they would not expect. So like one of the ways that I would think about is kind of like, can you have an AI talk like you? Right? Where like yeah, it's possible, right? There's 11 labs, there's like all of these tools, like, but can you have an AI that actually sends voicemails like you? And it's actually an AI
Mhm.
doing it, right? So like, but there's like a proof of human attached to it. Like, oh, there's no way that's an AI doing this. Or can you have like an AI send a voice message on LinkedIn, right? So you kind of like, the idea is to always stand out. And I would actually just focus on capturing timing for accounts and individuals by parsing like, data points every 24 hours across my private publicly available data, then help my sales team take those data points and create a personalized approach for every single one of them. And then I would buy something that would allow my sales team to kind of like stand out across different channels, either email, phone, or social selling. But yeah, I would on the GTM side, I'd say like what I see the best sales teams do today is kind of a multi-channel. They're not only doing email, they're doing social selling, they're doing a bunch of cold calling. I see them wanting to really capture the most relevant signals across their book of business. And I see them like, like if you talk with any VP of sales, they're like, I want every single email to be personalized, unique, individualized to that person. And
Mhm.
AIs can definitely help with all of these things.
Okay. What someone we had a discussion. We are trying something. You know how copy is always too perfect when it's AI generated and too fake if you don't give like
Yeah.
write in B2 English as an instruction, for example, which is a great tip. So we're discussing making a typo on the first line of an
Yeah.
email, for example, which is just to try it out, which is quite interesting. Cool. Tell me about like on the marketing side. Do you use any like what are the best channels that work for you right now? What are the best performing channels?
Yeah. By the way, like just to attach to your last point, which is like when we first started using GPT for copy creation, it would never write a typo. It was like, and we would say like write a typo, and it would never write a typo. And so like we actually needed to kind of refine our prompting for our customers, because customers were like, okay, everybody now is going to write perfect email, so we want to write a typo to stand out. And like when we first went live with our with LLMs in production, they would never write it. To your point, it would be really hard for them to write a typo. Um, so the channels, channel wise, like what I think is working really well. I think it's like I'm always like multi, and we have like a few data reports coming out next week. But multi-channel always for the win, meaning like there's like there are people that will always be good on at replying on email, some people on social, some people on cold calling. Um, the one that I see kind of like really performing well is social, meaning being out there on LinkedIn, just reaching out to people in a very personalized way. But like social selling there, especially for us and for our customers, I might be biased, right? But their buyers are on LinkedIn. They do have activity there. The amount of content produced there just like is growing, is growing exponentially. So there's a lot of like there's a big digital footprint that you can actually capture on LinkedIn. And if you're smart about it, then starting conversations there kind of works. And that's one of the channels that we see working very, very well. But we personally like we always do multi-channel, so like email, LinkedIn, and cold calling. So like my sales team is also cold calling. I think there's also like a narrative about cold calling in the market, right? Because like everybody's like, as people here might have experienced, like maybe email is getting harder because we kind of broke the email channel because we were just blasting people with like canned sequences, and it's getting harder for everybody. So everybody's kind of like now blasting the phones, right? So everybody's using parallel dialers and kind of like repricing that channel eventually. I know that some, for example, AT&T now, like every time you call, I think it's 10 numbers in a row and nobody picks up, like they mark your phone number as spammer. And so like there's all of these rules that are going to be changing the game and make it like cold calling much harder. So we're kind of like we've been repricing all of the channels. And I think for Amplemarket, I want people to do less, but more quality, right? So more focus on quality and capturing timing. So this is all about timing if you think about it, right? So when you want to start the conversation, it's all about the timing.
Mhm.
If you capture the right timing, if you capture that, like, I'm talking with Andrea, and Andrea's actually thinking about this thing when he goes to bed at night and when he wakes up in the morning. If I capture that one thing, okay, I got timing. If I reach out to you with a relevant offer, like the likelihood of you accepting to talk with me is actually very high. So and reaching out to you should be predetermined by whether or not I had a conversation with you in the past. So that should actually determine the channel that I'm going to choose, right? And maybe you hate to be cold called, right? Maybe you never pick up the phone, and so I should not approach you there, right? So there's all of these little things that you can actually start capturing and kind of like inferring about an individual to build the best model to actually engage with them. And yeah, I think multi-channel always for the win. And yeah, and just like capturing timing, like doing, that's why signal based is so important, right? But signal based is also, digital footprint. There's so much data out there today that you can actually capture a lot of interesting signals.
Have you started getting traffic from like AI models like chat-gpt and so on? Have you started seeing leads coming from chat-gpt?
Excellent. That's a good question. What are you talking about? Like,
GEO, Gen AI kind of equivalent of SEO.
yes. What you're asking about, like the SEO, like the search that actually comes through, like ChatGPT search. Yeah.
Yes.
Funny enough, like I was just talking about this yesterday. Yes, and it's so interesting. Like it's so, I don't know what you think about this. Actually, it's a good question for you. Like the when I look at it, I'm like, look at HubSpot. HubSpot is the content marketing company by excellence. Like they've created so much freaking content, and all of their organic traffic is kind of like, I think it's plummeting. Like I can send you. I was looking at a report yesterday. But like their organic traffic is kind of like just plummeting like heavily, and I've seen this in combination of like companies now creating blog posts saying they are the best. You would never do that like before LLMs, right? It's not the thing. Like, if you're doing SEO, you should never tell that you're the best at doing something, right? So you create a blog post about like, creating like your positioning in the marketplace, and you mention like all of the other interesting tools in your space, but you never like talk about yourself as being the best. And when you use like ChatGPT for search, it's so interesting. Like you'll see like company A says that they're the best at this thing, and you're like, okay, what's the source for company A being the best? Oh, it's themselves talking about themselves. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This makes no sense. But yeah, we start seeing some traffic, and we've been like talking with our marketing team about like, how does that change our SEO strategy? Like what and I don't have like a good answer there. I don't know. Have you thought about it yourself?
I think it's a bit too early for people to know what's going on. Like I personally started to hear about like 1 or 2 months ago. And I think there might be like if they're already kind of experts in the industry, they might be winging it because it's just too soon to understand how it works.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear other thoughts on this, but yeah, I understand what you're saying on creating your own articles, but I'm curious to see how it will evolve and also change the game for companies like Google and so on that have dominated
Oh
this.
yeah. Very interesting, right? Actually, like I was using Perplexity a lot at the beginning because it was actually the one that was actually plugged into like the web. But now since like even Claude or ChatGPT, they're kind of like plugged into the website, I actually start defaulting to using them way more than Perplexity. It's like actually my usage for Perplexity went down. But to your point, it's very true. Like even Google, like in their searches, I don't know if you can see that in Europe, but in the US, like their first thing is kind of like an LLM
Yeah,
based suggestion. So it's I don't know where this is all going, but it's something. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel that this needs to be corrected because it's weird. It makes no sense. Like it makes no sense that a company saying that they're the best at something would be the one that like that's like LLMs are very basic in that interpretation. It feels that like they're not doing a good job. If you know what I mean. Like it's like
yeah.
if it, if HubSpot is telling me that they're the best at marketing, like, and that's your source, no, it's like there should be a third-party source or whatever, like that would
Like a
actually,
check,
yeah.
like
So I don't
fact
know.
checkers.
Yeah.
What's
So
your what's your what are what's your stack across marketing sales? What are all the tools you're using?
um, we use HubSpot for marketing. We use um, so like our website builder for public pages is Webflow, and we use that a lot to actually create like landing page. If you think about marketing from a paid performance standpoint, like we use that a lot for like creating funnels and landing pages. And HubSpot for marketing, specifically for marketing newsletters, for paid performance dashboarding, etc. On the sales side, we use ChatGPT, of course, and Claude, etc. Like all of the LLMs, like we let the team use. We use Salesforce for our main CRM. We use we use Amplemarket for the sales team, which is basically all they use. We use a call recorder called Avoma, just like for recording calls and just like retranscribing them. On the inbound side, like if you inbound into Amplemarket, we use a thing called default, which is kind of like allows us to route, route like inbound leads and then like present calendar. I actually just started testing a Portuguese startup called Dojo. I don't know if you know them. They basically allow you to plug. I just literally started but they allow you to plug your Google Ads and your Google Analytics and your LinkedIn stuff into like their platform, and then it's basically you have a chat interface to ask you questions where it's all already preset to act as like a performance marketer, etc. So I don't yet have any feedback, but like we just started using testing them out. I think that's more. I might be forgetting something, but I think that's mostly what I'm evaluating another thing for social posting and calendarization of like posts, which is called Beat Assembly.
Okay.
They also have like some AI features in there. Yeah, but that's I think that's mostly it.
Okay. So what are kind of some of the plays that are working really well for you in 2025? Like anything that wasn't working last year or so like, okay, this is really cool. And it's worked.
A fun play that worked last month. This is a really fun play, and it's actually works in the US. It's like, are you familiar with March Madness?
No. What is it?
So March Madness is like during the month of March. Like there's like the college basketball. All of the colleges actually compete against each other during the month of March, like during like the final playoffs, and to see like which college is going to win. And it's actually huge in the US. Like everybody's watching and betting on games and yada yada. And so for us, it works really well because salespeople are very competitive. And so like one of the plays that we did, and it's kind of like people should think about this as in terms of an analogy, because there's like other things that you can do, but you can actually get access to people's alma mater, right, in the US. So I know whether you went to Berkeley or to Stanford, right? And so I know that Stanford, for example, is going to play against Caltech in their first game. So I reach out to the people from Caltech that are VPs of sales, and they reach out to the people that are from Berkeley that are VPs of sales, and I just tell them, hey, like March Madness is just around the corner. Notice that you went to Berkeley. Look, if Berkeley wins the next game against Caltech, I'll give you $50, no questions asked. But if they lose, you need to come with me on a call. And you know what? People are like, some people don't reply, but some people just say deal. And then, okay, cool. Like, I'll give you $50 if they win, but if they don't, like, you come with me on a call. And people they really do that. And so if you filter that across, and then like what we do is, you can imagine Berkeley in the bracket. Berkeley wins against Caltech. Now Berkeley is going to play Stanford. And the person from Berkeley did not reply to me. And now I'm saying, hey, Andre, like you didn't reply. You lost $50. Now I raise it $100 if Berkeley wins against Stanford. No questions asked, or you come with me on a call. And those
That's
things,
really
like,
cool.
yeah, that's pretty. Like people really like they get like really excited about these plays, and that's like a cool play that we did in March that people were just like really engaging with a lot. Yeah, that's been that was like an interesting one. It's not easy to execute, but it's like it's pretty cool one. And you can think about this for anything, right?
Yeah, super cool. I like it. We can do it with the Champions League here in Europe.
But like I've tried it, but it's harder to understand who supports what team. Whereas for March Madness, people really there's like a very strong bond in the US with their alma mater, with their university, and so like it's like people. It's where Champions League. I don't know if you're a supporter of Real Madrid or Manchester United. It's much harder to track to know who you support. And here it's so easy for college sports. And people really engage because it's kind of like it's a thing that is in the current zeitgeist. Like in March, there's March Madness, so people are going to be watching basketball.
Nice. Awesome. Let's talk about what are kind of the trends you're seeing in AI capabilities that are kind of exciting you about in B2B marketing? Just looking into the future.
Okay, Okay, I'll tie this to maybe the things that I'm really excited about right now, which is like on the B2B marketing side. And you know, like how like companies sometimes create like free products to that actually deliver value to attract like more people to their
Hmm.
website, like like small growth projects. I could actually like I don't know, an email rater. I could actually rate your email with an AI, etc. But there's like a bunch of these that companies do, like, and you take a look at companies, you take a look at free resources, and that's always been like a cool growth hack for most companies. Right? So when you get like a really good one going, you can actually attract a lot of like really relevant leads. So if you create a free resource that is tied to something that you help customers solve, and it's a nice free resource that can actually go viral, it will definitely help you drive more inbound on the B2B marketing side. And so like looking at tools like Bolt and Lovable and all of the things that are possible with them, I'm so excited about the next quarters. I think like my I think you'll see an explosion in terms of like some of these free resources, because they're so easy to create nowadays. Whereas like before, like you needed to kind of like go and ask like a product manager, an engineer to actually help you out, and they're so busy with the core product that they're not going to spend time like doing the doing the doing these growth hacks. And I think today, like a lot more power goes back to the marketing team. So if the marketing person is, and you don't need to be creative. If the marketing person, you don't need to be technical. Sorry, if you're creative, non-technical, you can now build some amazing stuff. And it's going to be a priority for us, like in Q2, just kind of like seeing what we can build. And some of these things go viral. Like I don't know if you saw, like the founder of Rose, Umberto, he went fully viral in with like the image generator for all of the politicians, like right. So that went
Yeah.
fully viral. But like think about like you could have built an app that would allow you to just go there, like again, plug some things, and then just like create like your image, I mean, an image for yourself. And I would see that as going viral, with a high potential of going viral. And there's all of these little things that you can do nowadays, that I'm really excited about in terms of the B2B marketing side, which is kind of like more individualized, like value added small projects that companies will be able to offer to their customers and prospective customers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Lead magnets,
lead
how
magnets.
we
Yeah,
call.
yeah, lead magnets.
So we actually did a small one last month. We did a prompt library. So for us, it all
I saw
starts
that.
with prompting. We
I
did a
saw that.
prompt library. I suddenly had 900 people asking me for the prompt library and 100,000 impressions. I was like, well, people really want to know more about this. And it was actually very decently put together. So yeah, small fun things that can be done.
But you have
What
so much like that.
yeah, for sure. So what are you let's talk about, okay, how should marketing teams be upskilling? Like, is there a particular thing you're telling your marketing team beyond incentivizing them to kind of just use AI models? Like, are you pushing them to go into kind of create these tools that you were just talking about? How should other teams in general, maybe that are further behind, think about that?
Um, I'm pushing them a lot to get, so like I'm pushing the marketing team a lot to be aware of those things, because I think it's ultimately about like your muscle memory. You sometimes don't remember that you have all of these things available to you, right? So it's kind of like in the transition. I call this like the 12 or 24 months of AI transformation, where like some people like really power users of ChatGPT and all of these things, and some people are just like normal users, and but the normal users get left. The non-users, to your point, get left behind. Like right, the companies they will get left behind, because like with enough time, if you just compound this like delta, it will just like be massive. Like, and that's why you see today companies with 10 employees doing $100 million in ARR. Like today it's possible. It was not really possible a few years ago. But the way I push my marketing team is to just like be aware of these tools and just build small things with them. I just want you to start unlocking the realm of possibilities that were not open to you, because a lot of people don't know that, for example, Bolt. A lot of people don't know that in 2 apps you can build like a custom thing that actually adds value to your life, even personally, right? And it costs nothing, zero. You can just do it for free. Like Bolt has like a free plan, and the way that I'm actually doing it with my marketing team is just like have them like explore these things more, have them just be aware that these things are possible, and then once like they start thinking, once it's kind of like in their mind as like a thing that is possible, then they will start having more ideas in terms of what's possible to build. And I think really like creativity is going to be the limiting factor. So if you're really creative, then if you understand what is possible today, then it's like, man, like you can just like you can
Do
explode.
anything.
Yeah, it's and that's like, to me, it's not like a bland usage of like just ChatGPT on the prompting side. No, it's actually, like one of the things, kind of like, think about it as kind of like what I was talking about before, a brainstormer, right? So I use it a lot. For example, me myself, when I'm commuting, I use it. I put my AirPods on and I switch on like the voice mode for ChatGPT, and I tell it like, I was just working on this thing, on this idea that I want you to get out of my brain. Like, please ask me qualifying questions. So it looks, I'm walking on the street and it feels like I'm on a phone call, but I'm just brainstorming with ChatGPT. Then at the end of like the 20-minute walk, I have like a transcript. I get to my computer. I just like, okay, can you just put this into bullet points? I paste that into like a Google Doc and I continue working on it. Then like it's all about like unlocking these little behaviors that are they're not like there yet, like, because like people don't know what's possible. So like these behaviors, you kind of like need to coach people a lot and to transform the way that they operate. And that's just being very obvious about those things and sharing them all of the time. Like, hey, here's something that I built. Here's something that is cool. Like, people really start thinking, then applying their own creativity, their own ideas. And yeah, before I joined this one, I was just talking with one of my product designers, and we're talking about like some of these like lead magnets, and he had like a really cool idea, and I was like, cool, like just try it out with Bolt. I bet like you can actually execute this like in a few hours. But yeah, it's just more about unlocking the possibilities. Like, I don't think people know everything that is possible, and
Yeah.
just make it very obvious to them, like, all of these things are possible. And by the way, in 3 months, more things are going to be possible. For example, the image generator for ChatGPT, it's so good now. It's so good. That unlocks a lot of possibilities. Like, what can I do with this thing? For example,
Hmm.
like I've going back to my daughters, I've been building like like comic pages, like with like quadrants with stories about them, right? So like I just uploaded pictures of them, and now, okay, Laura and Emily go on an adventure. The first one, the quadrant says this, the second one this, that, and you can build these things, and it takes no time. It's kind of like, and then you can think about that. What does that mean for example, for marketing? Like, I'll just give you an example: case studies. Well, could we actually have case studies instead of like being this bland thing? Have them be in a comic book series. We could have a comic book series about case studies, like the story of this customer, and like we sometimes jokingly say that Amplemarket is the Iron Man for sales. Okay, like, could we actually start turning like some of these stories from customers or from users into them actually becoming Iron Man, right? Just like some of these things that like you need to think about there being as being possible, but you need to kind of like unlock that behavior. And I think for transformation, it's always about unlocking your behavior and knowing what's possible. And going back to Toby, like Toby from the CEO of Shopify, he was saying like, look, I use it a lot, and I do use it a lot too. But even then, I feel that I'm just scratching the surface, like in terms of what's possible. And so like, the more people know about the things that are possible, people are creative in different ways. And so like, the more we have like these interactions, these ideas, these collisions, that will help us create more interesting and super relevant stuff, especially on the lead magnet side and on the marketing side. I think it's so good for that.
Yeah, man, I really like what you said. It's so cool, like the the case studies and making it like more engaging. Like that's a great shout.
Try it. Try it. Like, but try. You should really give it. Try the new ChatGPT image generator allows you to do that. Like, it's so crazy. It's so good. Um, yeah.
Awesome. We're right on time, almost on time. I want to allow for a few questions. Feel free to pop them in the chat. But before I do that, I have one last question, quick one. Like, are there any resources or communities you'd recommend for people wanting to leverage AI more effectively, like people on LinkedIn to follow? Is there anything that comes to mind, or is this just being kind of on the typical main channels and things just typically pop in front of you?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. Um, I don't know. I consume a lot. I consume a lot via podcasts, and the ones that I think are fairly interesting when it comes to like AI stuff is the Lenny podcast. Right, so like project management, like, and he invites all of these like people building in AI to his podcast, and so usually it's very interesting to see even how people think about applying AI, even on the B2B marketing side. Like,
Mhm.
it's the Lenny podcast is very good. and a more technical potentially one is like a Dwarkesh podcast. It's also like a, but it talks more with engineers, and they go deeper into technical questions. But those, and also like following people like you, like like you guys are posting like those lead magazines with the prompts, and kind of like just learning more from people that are really good at prompting things. That's like I find it like super valuable. Funny enough, like one of our customers called Momentum.io, they also like created a prompt library for like, because they do call recording and then do like they do transcripts of this call recording, and so they created a prompt library, and it was actually also like massively successful for them. And I think it's like people really want to learn good ways of prompting. I think like you were even giving me some ideas like on the SEO side. Like you should definitely do like invite someone that is actually good on the generative SEO side. I would definitely love to know more about that topic.
We have a couple of people that are really big in that area coming, and
Okay.
and we're gonna talk about that too.
That's definitely I bet that's top of mind for everybody. I have not met one person that knows how to navigate that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows. So maybe in a month it will be clearer.
Or they change the rules. Like I think they will change the rules. I don't know. Like something has got to change, but it's strange.
Yeah. Mika, thank you so much for your time. At the moment, I don't think we have any questions, so we can wrap up a couple of minutes earlier. Thank you so much. Hope you have an amazing day, and see you next time.
No, thank you so much for having me. And go out there and build like some amazing AI stuff. I invite you all to try bolt.new, lovable.dev. Just go there, write whatever prompt is, like whatever thing you wanted to build, and you'll see that like with one prompt you get so close to something that you find very interesting. But yeah, it's about creativity. It's like I'm super excited for humans to kind of like unleash their creativity.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Bye.